We've had good growth. You've seen we've had 33% growth in the industry. We've gone from 56 or $57 billion to close to 70 billion, which is a great achievement in a declining market globally. We've also clocked 20 billion in terms of exports, which is remains at 30%, and that gives me to believe that the China plus one or the India plus one strategy is playing out, in our favor. The more we invest in technology, the more opportunities we're going to be able to capture, and that's exactly what's happening currently in the Indian auto component space. The spend on R&D is still at a very, very low level. I would say 0.5% for the industry, going up to almost 1%. Globally, it's 6%. So we really need to focus on more investment in R&D, more investment in future technologies. And what's encouraging is that we're being exposed to a lot of that by way of what's happening globally and by way of the fact that we're able to capture more export market. When you look at investment in technology, in new technologies, you need scale. And scale is really what's available outside of India when you look at it, electrification and all the other stuff that comes with it, whether it's telematics and connectivity, etc. And therefore, the opportunity to export is huge. We saw yesterday at the CIAM conference also, the ministers pushed on the fact that we must create more exports. That's really going to be the driving force for success in our industry. And we're geared up to do that. We're geared up to supply to the electric vehicles. We're seeing rapid increase in electric vehicles in India as well, even though it's just a small 3% overall. Two-wheelers are growing fast. Three-wheelers are almost all new three-wheelers will be EV. And then that'll be followed by other vehicles, and then alternate fuels is a big play as well. It's a great opportunity. In the auto component space, we see the ecosystem as being a great opportunity as well. So whilst we will see the whole component space, we'll also be able to see the ecosystem around the component space, and you're hearing of people getting into battery technologies, charging, etc. Further to that, I feel we really need to look at our industry not as automotive but as mobility. And when you say mobility 360, it's about mobility because everything that moves is now going to have similar components to what the car will have. So if you look at bots, if you look at drones, and India has been very forthcoming in terms of, or the government has been very forthcoming in terms of all the schemes towards PLI. And this morning, Mr. Kant also announced 26,000 crores on auto components. I think 18,000 crores in batteries. You've got FAME 2, you've got FAME 3 that will come. So if you look at the entire gamut, it's almost 50,000-60,000 crores that are being allocated towards us investing in future technologies. And with those investments, will come the growth of the auto component industry. So I think we're at the inflection point. It's commendable in terms of the fact that we've grown 33% in this last year, and we expect this kind of double-digit growth to continue going forward.
Is there a dilemma?
No pressure to the future leadership.
But Mr. Kapoor, is there a dilemma of sorts when we speak about adapting to changes, but we also speak about sustainability with competitiveness? What do we mean by that? How are we going to focus when there is so much of change?
Yeah, so I think everything that's happening, you've got to look at it from a sustainability lens. Whether it's clean energy, when you look at electrification, always the conversation goes towards all the coal that's being used to fuel that electrification. So all that has to change and evolve, and it is happening. You've seen in India we're investing in green hydrogen. There's so much conversation about all the investments that are going into green hydrogen, etc. So the entire supply chain and the value chain has to become more sustainable, and we're seeing this happen very quickly. These are not sort of things that will happen overnight, changes, but small steps will create the large changes that we're looking for.
Yeah. Hi, this is Lakshan from PTI. How many of your members are still associated with the digital technology? And yesterday we heard about Mr. Gadkari pushing for doing away with the digital technology. So if those sorts of development come in from an ACMA point of view, what kind of implications can it have for your members?
So I would say that it's very in line with what the market is. Okay, you can't sort of go away from the fact that let's say a company, an OEM, if it manufactures 70% diesel, and I'm not going to take OEM names because we're not here to do that, but then the supply base of that OEM will be involved in diesel engines. However, with the evolution that's happening, and we've seen the auto components. So if you ask me how many of our component companies are ready to supply into EV, I'd say 100%. I'd be close to 100%. What is the dependence on ICE? I think it's a matter of what component you're supplying. When you talk about the fact that there are engine components, there's alternate fuels. I don't think engines are going away anytime soon. However, what's increasing is the software. So if you take away 30% of the vehicle being ICE or engines, you think 40% will be software as well. So there's a great opportunity there. So again, to answer your question very briefly and to the point, it's really dependent on what the market requires today. And as that evolves, the industry will evolve as well. And we've seen that happen with regard to electrification. It's not like we're left behind and we're importing. Our imports, in fact, have dropped. What you saw last year, we had a $700 million surplus. This year, we're almost even. But 2 years ago, the trade deficit was 2 billion. So coming from there, you can see that there's a lot of localization happening in terms of technology as well.
The reason why I asked this question is yesterday we were speaking to the Marutis and the Hyundais of the world. They said that their passenger vehicle percentage of diesel has come down gradually from 32% now to 18%. So as that happens, for you also, the number of members who were earlier supplying for diesel technologies, have they also come down, or how is that understand?
I think they're evolving. They're evolving their technology. As technologies change, we're being exposed to newer technologies. And I said this in the morning also, we've had technology shows with OEMs, we've gone out to Japan, to the UK, to Israel, etc., to look at what's happening in terms of disruptive technologies, which is becoming mainstay in the automotive industry.
China has just taken over Japan in the automobile sector. How do you see that evolving with reference to India and competition in ACMA as a component?
I think that India has a very bright future as far as exports is concerned, and we are going to, the impetus that is there is high. The order book is large, so I don't see a challenge at all.
Because why ask this question? Because both the countries are price sensitive in their product. So where do you see you getting an edge over China?
I think the world is changing. It's gone beyond price. It's more, it's more the whole value proposition that is there in the product that you supply. And that's changing. And the China plus one story, or as we say, the India plus one story is here to stay.
Yeah. So what's happened is that, look, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, things were different. What's happening now is because of the regulatory environment that we are into today, because of huge changes in the safety regulations on the emission front, our vehicles today are at par with global vehicles. That's opening door for export opportunities for us. And that apart, globally, the de-risking is playing very, very, very strongly. So this may not reflect today because the ecosystem that's there in China is probably 10 times of that of ours. Their component industry is $550 billion. We are just about $70 billion. So, and mind you, please try and understand that the whole thing started, the economy growth started for them 10 years ago compared to us. They started liberalizing 10 years before us. So please try, they're a little bit ahead of us, but we are absolutely with the world changing, with the war now, with the electric mobility coming in. I think there's a lot of change in the whole perspective of the world, and that's going to help India big time. Yeah.
I just add one final comment to that is the geopolitical aspect of things. The fact is that anything additional that's happening, India is being looked at very favorably, and that's not just in our industry. You'll see it across industries, in Apple, case in point, Foxconn, etc. Everything that's additional. So people are not going to pull out of China because that market size is large. The volumes of vehicles sold there are large, so you're not going to pull out. However, whatever has to happen additionally, OEMs, and in fact in ACMA, we work very closely with what we call IPOs, International Purchase Offices, from tier 1 suppliers as well as from OEMs, and they're actively sourcing from India. What's also going to happen, which is going to play to India's advantage, is the fact that traditional industries will slowly, fizzle out in the West, and all that capacity can move to India. So that's another big play for India. So we need to look at it from that perspective.
If I may ask an additional question, do you see the chip getting a good support in India, chip manufacturing for the automobile component, though that is not directly related, but that is integral part of the automobile sector?
So look, during the pandemic, we were 7% of the global consumption of semiconductor chips as in automotive industry globally. Today we're up to 15%, and I think we'll go up to 20% because chips are going to keep increasing in a vehicle, but chips are also going to increase in other electronics. So the chip industry is going to see a great great opportunity in terms of growth. Anyone who can put up semiconductor chips, it'll be phenomenal. I think we're also at the tail end of the technology when it comes to automotive, so we need to also evolve from a technology perspective, and therefore we need to look at what the opportunities are. As capacity increases globally, I think this chip problem will stabilize. However, I don't feel that in the long run we will not go through cycles, because chips are going to increase in everything that we do. So there will be cycles, and capacity will, and it's a natural phenomenon.